Do you remember the exact number? The salary, the raise, the new rate? Whatever it was, I'm willing to bet there was a moment, maybe in a car, maybe reading an email, maybe just lying in bed at night, where you thought, okay, this is it. Once I hit this, things are going to feel different. And then you hit it. And for maybe a week, two if you were lucky, things did feel different. You felt lighter, a little more in control. You went out to eat without checking the price of things first. You bought something without that familiar background hum of guilt. And then, almost without noticing, the number that used to feel like the answer became just the number you make. And the stress came back. Different flavor, same weight. You started thinking about the next number, if that has happened to you more than once. If you've crossed a financial threshold that was supposed to change things and found yourself 6 months later, feeling basically the same, I want to talk to you about why. Not in a way that makes you feel stupid or undisciplined, in a way that might actually make you feel like you finally understand something about yourself that no one ever explained properly. Because the reason isn't that you spent too much, it goes deeper than that. The conventional explanation for this goes like this: you earned more, so you spent more. Lifestyle inflation. You upgraded the apartment, got the nicer car, started eating at better restaurants, and now those things are your baseline. So you need more money just to stay even. And since you keep spending up to your income, you never actually get ahead. That explanation isn't wrong, but it's so incomplete that it ends up being kind of useless. Because it locates the problem entirely in your spending behavior. It implies the solution is discipline. Just don't spend so much when you earn more. Just hold the line. And if you can't do that, well, that's kind of a you problem. Here's what that explanation misses. The moment your income goes up, your entire social and psychological environment shifts. It's not just your spending that changes. Your reference group changes. Your sense of what's normal changes. The pressures on you change. The expectations from the people around you and from yourself change. Earning more doesn't just give you more money. It drops you into a different version of the world with different invisible rules, different benchmarks, different anxieties. And nobody warns you about that. Nobody says, hey, by the way, this new income level comes with a new set of comparisons and a new ceiling you'll spend years bumping your head against. The problem isn't that you lack willpower. The problem is that you keep stepping onto a treadmill that moves faster every time you earn more. And you've been told the treadmill is your fault, when really it was already running before you got on it. Let me take you back to something that was first described in the 1970s by a pair of researchers named Philip Brickman and Donald Campbell. They called it the hedonic treadmill. The basic idea is this: humans have a remarkable ability to adapt to new circumstances, good or bad. When something terrible happens, a serious injury, a job loss, a breakup, we usually predict it will hurt for much longer than it actually does. And when something wonderful happens, a promotion, a windfall, getting the thing we really wanted, we predict it will make us happier for much longer than it actually does. We adapt. We return to baseline. The treadmill keeps moving. This isn't a flaw in weak people. This is a feature of human cognition. It helped us survive. The ability to normalize new circumstances, to stop being overwhelmed by novelty, good or bad, is what lets us function. But in a financial context, it means that every time you earn more and your life genuinely improves, your brain recalibrates. What used to feel like a luxury becomes the floor. And the floor is never something you feel grateful for. It's just where you stand. So there's the first layer, pure adaptation. Your nervous system literally stops registering the improvement because it's been absorbed into your new normal. But here's where it gets more interesting. Because the hedonic treadmill explains why relief doesn't last. It doesn't fully explain why the stress often gets heavier. For that, you need to understand what happens to your social context when your income changes. The psychologist Leon Festinger described something in the 1950s called social comparison theory. The idea that human beings don't evaluate their circumstances in absolute terms. We evaluate them relative to the people around us. We are wired deeply and almost involuntarily to look sideways. Not because we're shallow, because for most of human history, knowing where you stood in relation to the people around you was genuinely important. It was survival information. Now here's the part that almost never gets talked about. When your income goes up, your reference group shifts, slowly, often unconsciously. You're no longer surrounded by the same people you were before. Or if you are, you're now comparing upward within that group instead of feeling comfortable within it. You start socializing in different circles. Your colleagues are different. Your ambitions are different, and the comparison baseline moves with you. Think about what that means practically. When you were earning less, the people around you were in a similar position. The apartment you had was fine. It was what people at your level had. The car was fine. The holidays were fine. You weren't constantly reminded of what you didn't have because the people near you didn't have it either. Now you earn more. Now you know people who have more. Not because you went looking for envy, just because life moves you into different rooms as your income changes. And in those rooms, the invisible benchmark has moved. You're aware of things you weren't aware of before. Kitchens that got renovated, holidays that lasted 3 weeks, schools the kids go to, and your brain, that same brain that evolved to monitor your relative position, starts cataloging the gap. This is why earning more can genuinely increase anxiety rather than reduce it. It's not irrational. It's the perfectly rational output of a brain doing exactly what it was built to do in an environment it was never designed for. And then, and this is the layer most people never reach, there's the pressure that comes from inside. When your income was lower, you had a kind of psychological permission to not have it together yet. You were in an earlier chapter. The story wasn't supposed to be finished. But when your income crosses certain thresholds, something shifts in your internal narrative. You start to feel like you should have figured it out by now. Like the discomfort you're still feeling is less understandable than it used to be. Like you've lost the excuse. This is what the psychologist Sherry Turkle might call a disruption in your identity script. The story you tell yourself about where you are and where you're going. When your income was lower, the story said, "I'm working toward something." That story had tension in it, but it also had direction. When your income goes up and you still don't feel secure, that's disorienting. Because the story said this was supposed to be the resolution, and instead of resolution, you find that the finish line just moved. Again. Here's the thing I want you to sit with for a moment. The question most people are asking themselves in this situation is, how do I finally get ahead? How do I earn enough that it actually sticks? What's the number that finally works? But that question assumes the problem is arithmetic. It assumes that if you just find the right income, the right budget, the right system, then the feeling of not enough will go away. What if the feeling of not enough isn't a financial problem at all? What if it's the entirely predictable output of a brain that was built to adapt quickly and compare constantly, running inside a modern economy specifically designed to move the goalposts? Because if that's true, and I think the evidence is pretty overwhelming that it is, then the question changes. The question is no longer, how do I earn more? The question becomes, what does security actually feel like for me, specifically? And am I building toward that? Or am I just chasing the version of it that other people seem to have? That is a completely different question. And it's a harder one, but it's the one that actually leads somewhere, because it's the first question that's actually about you, not about a number. Security isn't a tax bracket. It's a psychological state, and psychological states are built by specific choices and specific structures, not by income levels. So let's talk about what actually helps. And I want to be specific here, because generic financial advice after everything we just talked about would be almost insulting. The first thing, and this comes directly from understanding hedonic adaptation, is to build a real gap between your income and your lifestyle before the adaptation happens. not after. The window is short. When income goes up, there's a brief period, weeks, maybe a couple of months, before your new baseline calcifies. That is the only window in which your present self and your future self are briefly aligned. Use it. Not to invest a perfect amount, not to hit some optimized savings rate, just to create a structural gap before your brain normalizes the new number. An automatic transfer to a separate account set up before the new deposit hits your main account removes the decision entirely. And we've just established why that matters. The moment of decision is exactly where your comparison-aware, yet adaptation-prone brain starts rationalizing. The second thing, and this comes from social comparison theory, is to get honest about who you're currently comparing yourself to and whether that reference group is actually yours. Not to reject ambition, not to pretend you don't want things, but to notice when your dissatisfaction is being generated by a comparison rather than a genuine need. There is a difference between wanting a bigger apartment because you've outgrown your current one, and in wanting a bigger apartment because someone you know just got one. The feeling is almost identical. The origin is very different. One is information, the other is noise. Learning to tell them apart is one of the most financially useful skills you can build, and it has nothing to do with spreadsheets. And the third thing, this one comes from understanding the disrupted identity script, is to consciously redefine what having it together looks like for your actual life. Not the life implied by your income level. Not the life that the people in the rooms you now occupy seem to be living. Your specific life, with your specific history, your specific values, the specific kind of day you actually want to have when you're 50. Because if you don't define that deliberately, the economy will define it for you. And it will always define it as just slightly more than you currently have. That's not an accident. That's the design. There's something almost relieving about understanding this clearly, not because it solves anything overnight, but because when you can see the mechanism, when you can recognize the treadmill for what it is, feel it moving under you, and name what's happening, it loses some of its power. Not all of it, but some. You didn't fail to appreciate what you earned. Your brain adapted as it was built to do. You didn't get greedy or careless. You stepped into a new social context, and your comparison instincts fired as they were built to do. You didn't lose discipline. You were running a race whose finish line was always meant to move. The people who seem to have figured this out, and I say seem to deliberately, because most of them haven't fully, they're not earning a magic number. They're not grinding harder than everyone else. They've just, consciously or accidentally, yet built a life where their daily experience of security doesn't depend on beating the comparison, where the feeling of enough is anchored to something specific and real and actually theirs. That's not a personality trait you're born with. That's a structure you build slowly by asking the right questions. And the first right question isn't, how do I earn more? It's, what am I actually building toward? Here's something this video probably opened up without fully answering. If comparison is this hardwired and adaptation is this automatic, why do some people seem genuinely, quietly content at almost any income level, while others seem to carry the same restlessness no matter how much they earn? That's not a spending question, and it's not a savings rate question. In the next video, we're going to go into the psychology of that specifically, because the answer has a lot less to do with money than you'd expect.